get ready for a very long video. Grab a snack, grab some water, grab what's left of your water, and enjoy the video. I just finished the rest of my water and I should have filled it up before filming. Greetings, salutations, Eddie here. So today I'm going to be doing a quarantine wrap-up, reading wrap-up kind of thing. I've never done a wrap-up before, I don't think. I've done reading updates, but not like wrap-ups. Today I do want to, review the books that I did read so far in quarantine. And unfortunately, that was only just a couple. I read 10 stories in quarantine because I was so... And I expected to read more, but I don't know, it just feels like I haven't been reading that much, and that sucks. Guess I've just been so caught up in trying to find a job, which has not been successful, and also schooling as well. So I am going to be reviewing all the stories that I read so far. It's going to be a long video, so get comfy, get a snack, get some water, and let's go. I will start with the books that I listened to via Audible. I don't know if you guys use the Audible app, but it's a great app for those who want to listen to a book. I think it's an Amazon branch. So I have all these books on here. So I have 17 titles, and I listened to 5 of them completely. So the first one that I finished since the pandemic hit was Laini Taylor's Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and this one was narrated by Christine Havam, which is and we all know the plot of Daughter of Smoke and Bone. It's a fantasy book that is about a girl named Karu who has peacock blue hair and amazing tattoos, and lives in Prague, and is an art student, and lives in a family of monsters. And there's a war going on, and we all know the trilogy is fabulous. If you guys have not read the trilogy, I reintroduced myself to the world by listening to it, because when I go for my walks, I've been trying to listen to more books than music, but Christine Havam's, I really hope I'm saying her name right, her narration for this story is 100% perfect for this series. I think she narrated the whole trilogy, I'm not sure, but just, sorry, the fan's going too, because it's hot in here. It is an amazing, amazing narration. The accents that she gives to these characters, the way that she just adds emotion to scenes, and just amazing. I love Christina Vaugh's voice for this story, and also the story is amazing as well. So still a 5 out of 5 for me. I love Daughter of Smoke and Bone. If you have not read Daughter of Smoke and Bone, you're slacking and you're missing out on something. I will say you have to be patient with it, because it does take a little bit to get into it, to sort of get the ball rolling, but once it starts rolling, you don't want it to stop, because it's just so good. I listened to 4 stories of the Ghosts of the Shadow Market series. So I'll start with the one that I just finished, and that one is Every Exquisite Thing by Maureen Johnson and Cassandra Clare. And this was narrated by Laura Pulver. Here it is right here. That will focus. There we go. And this one is a short story that I don't even know a lot of these plots at all. I knew the plot of Son of the Dawn, but I didn't know the plot of The Wicked Ones, or Learn About Lost, or Every Exquisite Thing. So Every Exquisite Thing we follow Anna Lightwood in a time in her life where she's struggling. She's struggling to find her place in the world. And also keeping a secret from her family that she prefers to date women over men, and she has been wearing her brother's clothing, and she starts to have feelings for this woman named Ariadne. I think what's so interesting about this story is that Anna comes off as a very Jace Whalen, Will Herondale sort of mix, but also felt like a British Isabel Lightwood. And I think what's so charming about Anna is that she knows who she is, and she knows what she's worth. And I think that her struggling to sort of tell her family about her true self It's something I could identify with. And I think that's what's so... I think that was the best part about this book, was sort of the realism in a supernatural world. If we looked at the bigger picture of every exquisite thing, if we got to see a lot more characters, I feel like a lot of them have picked up on the fact that this woman, Anna Lightwood, is gay. And I think that's what's so... But here's the thing. They fight greater demons. They fight werewolves. They fight vampires. They fight, warlocks and witches and dealing with, like, fallen angels and forsakens. And yet they're supposed to... Do you really think that they care that you're gay? I wouldn't think that they would care. But I think that... But every exquisite thing, one, it's brilliantly written. And two, I think it was a great... It felt probably the most realistic of the short stories that I listened to. Because it deals with such a heavy topic about, gay pride and being yourself and telling your parents. And by the end of it, her mom already knew that she was gay. And she was just unfazed by it, which I think every parent should be if they found out that their child is gay. And she got Anna her own suit, her own ruby necklace, and just very sweet. I think that this one is a very sweet story, but it's not my favorite. But this is a 4 out of 5 stars for me. And plus, I don't know if Anna Lightwood is mentioned in Chain of Gold. If you have read Chain of Gold, please let me know down below. So the next one that I listened to was Son of the Dawn, which is by Cassandra Clare and Sarah Reese Brennan. And this one was narrated by Riley Dolman. Pull up the cover. Here it is right here. Focus. Thank you. Okay, let me just say, Riley Dolman's narration is great. The writing is great as well. But I feel like I've kind of already read this story, though. Maybe that's just because I just watched Shadowhunters. And we saw how the backstory of how Jace and Alec became parabatized. I don't know, it just kind of felt repetitive because I feel like we already explored this story in City of Ashes. But I think seeing them as when they were kids instead of telling us, I think that was a great concept as well. I knew that this one was going to be difficult to read because, having a new sibling at such a young age was going to be, challenging to accept them and whatnot. But then as they, got closer, or as time passed, they got closer and they become brother and sister. And, Jace and Alec became parabatized. So this one was a sweet story too. This was going to be 4 stars as well. I think that this was a really well written story, as usual. But it's definitely also not my favorite at all. But I'm glad I listened to it. The next one that I listened to was Learn About Loss, which is by Kelly Link and Cassandra Clare, and narrated by Ross Butler. I already talked about all these stories before, but here's the cover. Learn About Loss. There you go. Learn About Loss. And this one is my second favorite. In a small town lost to despair, a dark carnival of a market appears. Fairies and warlocks we know converge, and the fate that will one day produce Kit Herondale is sealed. And this one also follows Brother Zachariah / Jem Carstairs and Iron Sister Amelia. This one was a really great story too. This one's my second favorite. This one's a 4.5 out of 5. I think this one, Chattanooga setting, which is where the story takes place, and the carnival and the market setting was just amazing. And the dialogue between the Iron Sister and Brother Zachariah was very genuine, very real. And Ross Butler's narration, just how deep his voice is, works for Brother Zachariah. And I was not expecting to get emotional at the end, but I did. At the end, because at the end, spoilers by the way, Jem wanted one dream or one wish, I can't remember what it was, to have one more day with Will. And I'm listening to this in public, and so when that came up, I was just ugh. We saw how much Will meant to Jem when they were parabatized / Shadowhunters. It was just such a sweet moment. But Ross Butler, while he was a great narrator for the story, gave Will an American accent, which we all know Will is British, so this one didn't make any sense. But he was an amazing narrator. He was an amazing choice for the story, and this was a 4.5 out of 5. Now, my absolute favorite one is The Wicked Ones, which is by Cassandra Clare and Robin Wasserman, and is narrated by Emily Bett-Rickards. Here's the cover. There we go. Celine Montclair goes to the shadow market to escape. She will go anywhere in Paris or the entire world to escape the suffering she experiences at the hands of her family. She did not expect to meet Valentine Morgenstern there, or to have him promise her freedom in the heart of the man she secretly loves. On one condition, of course: at the shadow market, nothing is free. And I didn't know what this one was about, to be honest with you. And I didn't know that Valentine was going to be in it. I didn't know that Valentine was going to be in this story, and I also didn't know what time period this was. And can I just say that I forgot how charming Valentine could be sometimes, even though he could be a dick. His dialogue with Celine Montclair was sort of a really... I think the dynamic between them was interesting, to say the least. But that wasn't even my favorite part of the story. My favorite part of the story was Paris. The setting, the tone, just everything about Paris was just captivating. And Emily Bett-Rickards' narration was absolutely perfect. So this one's a 5 out of 5. This one's my favorite. Goes to the Shadow Market tale. Goes to the Shadow Market. I highly recommend. I don't know if you have to read these stories before you read like the Dark Artifices or Chain of Gold or whatever, but I'm just listening to them, and plus this is a great way for me to get back into the world of Shadowhunters, since I've been away from it for so long. And I think that the short stories really showcases Cassandra Clare's writing and how great she can be, and also these amazing other writers as well. I also read Sarah Reese Brendan's work, and she's a pretty good author. I've not read any Maureen Johnson novels. I haven't read any Kelly Link novels or Robin Wasserman. I read Sarah Reese Brendan's Lindburn Legacy trilogy, which is absolutely amazing. If you have not read the Lindburn Legacy, please do. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so now the first novel that I have here, these are not in chronological order, so just bear with me. So this one is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, which is his debut novel. Now, I'm going to keep this brief because I don't want to talk about it too much, because this is probably the only time where you have to go into a book not knowing anything. And I hate that, but that's how this book wants you to be. So by the creepy cover, it's about this girl that goes on a trip with her boyfriend to his parents' house so she can meet them, and then from there things just get confusing. And it says here on the back, you will be scared, but you won't know why. And that's how I felt the entire time. I felt scared. I felt petrified. Let me take off my glasses because the glare is killing me. It was terrifying in the sense that I didn't know what was going on. And I didn't know if I should trust the narrator. And by the way, nobody has names except for the boyfriend, Jake. It just felt so terrifying in the sense that I didn't know what to think or what to say. But I knew something. I couldn't put this down. I read it so fast. It was a combination of, one, I needed to see where things were going to go. Two, the length of the book is pretty short. Three, the font is pretty big. And four, there was a film coming out on Netflix directed by Charlie Kaufman. Because I have been reading books before I've seen the show or the film, as you guys will see with Little Fires Everywhere. But this one, I felt so uncomfortable reading this book. And I can't say why unless you guys want a spoiler review, which I will, because this book needs a whole video dedicated to itself. The writing is amazing, I will say that. I don't know what else to say without spoiling it, so I'm just going to say this is a 3 out of 5 stars. And it is creepy, I will say that. And the next book that I have in my pile is Paula Hawkins' Into the Water, which is probably, nope, yeah, the second most disappointing book of my quarantine reading. So basically, we all know Paula Hawkins wrote Girl on the Train, which was revolutionary. Everybody and their mama loved it. There was a film made about it. Into the Water is sort of a strange crime fiction. So I'll just say this. I'll just read the jacket real quick. A single mother turns up dead at the bottom of the river that runs through town. Earlier in the summer, a vulnerable teenage girl met the same fate. They are not the first women lost to these dark waters, but their deaths disturb the river and its history, dredging up secrets long submerged. Here's the thing. I was excited to read this book because, one, it's Paula Hawkins, who wrote Girl on the Train, which is one of my favorite films, and I want to read the book soon. And I was told that if I liked like Gone Girl or something like that, then I would like this one. I like the Gone Girl film. I haven't read the Gone Girl book. So I decided just to give it a chance, and I was kind of disappointed. The book is not terrible. Let me just say that the book is not terrible in the slightest. I did have some things that I really liked, but some things I didn't like. One thing I did like is the setting. The setting really felt like a creepy character, in the sense that you don't know if you would feel strange and uncomfortable being near the river, being near like these dark waters, being near this town or whatever. So you would feel uncomfortable being there, and you wouldn't know why. I love the writing. The writing is absolutely phenomenal. I think the characters were very, for the most part, fleshed out for the most part. I think that the crimes were interesting. The first act and the second act are amazing. The first act is slow, but it's not boring. It has to build up to the second act, the climax of it. And the slow beginning is a slow burn in the sense that we have to get to know these characters and know why we should care about them and why they're important to the story. And I did care about them. However, jumping into the negatives. So the book is told in first person and third person, which, kind of got on my nerves, because I would rather have a book completely told in third person or a book completely told in first person. One or the other. I don't mind a prologue third person and the rest is first person, and a epilogue in third person. I think Leigh Bardugo did that with Shadow and Bone, which I think worked. This one, it was just a combination throughout the book, and it got kind of on my nerves. Now, the first person chapters with, I think it's Detective Townsend, Jules, and Lena, they were first person, and I could not tell their voices apart at all. At the top of the pages, it does say who's narrating. Here's Jules. It says Jules right there. There we go, right there. It says Jules, so I had to remind myself that I'm reading a chapter that Jules is telling, or a chapter that Detective Townsend is telling, or Lena is telling, because the voices sound completely and utterly similar to me. And then the third act was such a letdown to me, because it was just like I was expecting I want books to take a risk. I want books to take a risk. I want them to do something that no other crime book has done before, or do something that your reader would not expect. And this one kind of felt generic to me. It felt like a generic crime drama that you would see on like CBS or HBO or Fox. It just felt generic, but it wasn't. The book is not terrible. I will say the book is not terrible at all. I wish it would take a risk and do something different, which it didn't do. So that's why I kind of knocked down a couple stars from it. But I do recommend this book. It is a really fun book to read. It's a very engaging novel. It is. But it's not my favorite novel. Then probably my absolute favorite book that I read in quarantine is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. And this is not the exact copy that I read. I got the book from the library, and from a jobs library. and I read that in like 2 days, 2 or 3 days, something like that. And this book is amazing, and the book is truly about privilege, and about privilege in the 90s, and you know, adoption and family drama, family secrets, and what happens when you peel back the layers of a perfect town, and when you get to the root of the town, what is exposed to it, and the different parenting styles of the Richardson mother and the Warren mother. And it's not even just about them, it's also about a woman named Bibi Chow seeking custody for a child that she abandoned at a fire station, and the child at question is being adopted, or was adopted, by the Richardson mother's friend Linda McCullough. And we get introduced, I thought that the whole book was going to be about the Richardson family, and the Richardson family is this this picture perfect family. So we have Bill, who's the father, we have Elena, who is sort of the main character, we have Lexi, who's the oldest daughter, we have Trip, who's the oldest son, we have Moody, and we have Isabel, who is the black sheep of the family. And then we have Pearl and Mia Warren. Mia Warren is very artistic, closed off woman that keeps secrets from her daughter and from her, co-workers, and from the Richardsons as well. And she does like these amazing pictures, and Pearl, her daughter, doesn't know why they had to keep moving. And when they finally settle down in Shaker Heights, that's where this book is set in. That's when secrets become, exposed, for the whole world to see. The thing about this book is that there are so many things about this book that this book explores. Privilege, family, mothering, fathers, adoption. Everything about this book is exquisite. It is such an amazing book. Also, the cover is pretty amazing too. And I just realized the house has fires in it. That's pretty cool. And the back is just covered with cover quotes. And this book got so much attention that Reese Witherspoon put this in her book club pick for the month, and also optioned it for a television show. And her and Kerry Washington starred as the characters, and it was an amazing show. It was different from the book, but it still felt like a true interpretation of the novel. And that's the thing. These book-to-movie adaptations are interpretations. What the director sees, what the director thinks of these characters, what the director thinks how these characters look. And that's why some of these films don't do well, because they cast someone that doesn't look like, the characters that are in the book. I think, though, since Reese and Carrie cared about this book so much and cared about the characters, that they wanted to adapt the book in a true fashion, and they did. With some changes that didn't take away the depth of the story, it still felt like a true novel-based show. And that's what this is. And the show explored more of the privileged side as well. And the book, and I don't know if the book explored racism. The show did. The show definitely explored racism. I can't remember if the book did, but the show did, and it's one of my favorite shows, and this is one of my favorite books. I will do a whole video if you guys want me to. It's an amazing book. 5 out of 5, my favorite quarantine read. So then the last two I'm going to talk about are Tithe and Valiant from the Modern Fairy Tales by Holly Black. So I bought the Cruel Prince trilogy, the one, Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing, which received so much hype. I read the first couple pages of The Cruel Prince, and the writing is absolutely amazing. Holly Black also wrote The Coldest Girl in Cold Town, which is one of my favorite books ever, and also wrote The Spiderwood Chronicles, which was made into a film, which was amazing. Anyways, I wanted to read the Cruel Prince trilogy, but then I flipped through the books and I saw a certain name in it, and it was K-A-Y-E. And I Googled, do I have to read Modern Fairy Tales before I read Darkest Part of the Forest or the Cruel Prince books? And someone said you don't have to, but there are references back to Tithe. So me being me, I bought the collection of Tithe, Valiant, and Ironside. So that's what I did. So the Tithe we follow. I'll put the cover over here. So Tithe we follow a girl named Kay, and she travels city to city, state to state with her mom's rock band, and she finds out that she's a nomad, a modern nomad, and she just gets wrapped up in a world of fairies and monsters and creatures, and just the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court is just... the writing is amazing. The writing is so good. This originally, Tithe was supposed to be an adult book, and it definitely reads like an adult book, but I'm glad it became a young adult, because I feel like the story definitely fits better as a young adult book, in my opinion. I was never into fairies to begin with, but I was told that Holly Black's fairy books were absolutely amazing. And I guess you can argue that Throne of Glass and Court of Thorns and Roses are fae books, which are fairy. I guess it's just how they're interpreted. And I think that for the longest time I thought of fairies as like the Disney fairies, not the scary, creepy, evil fairies that are explored in these books. And so these fairies are so evil, but written so well. I think my favorite part about this book is the dialogue between Kay, Corny, Royben, and just amazing. I think Tithe is a great debut novel. I think it's her debut novel. It was a great novel. I think as far as leads, I think Kay was probably the most compelling, because she wasn't whiny. She wasn't like, no, I don't want to do it. No, you can't make me. She was like, okay, you're gonna train me though, so I can be a badass, you know? It showcased a balance of her weaknesses and strengths so that we can sympathize with her. And that's what I did. Her friendship with Corny is hysterical, I will say. And her relationship with Royben definitely built up, and it kind of proved why he's a love interest, and he was very interesting. So Tithe is a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now Valiant bored the crap out of me, because we follow a new character. We follow a girl named Val who runs away from her life after she catches her boyfriend, you know, going down on her mother, and she runs away. And then she becomes friends with the squatters in New York, and living in their subway systems. And there she runs into creatures and monsters, and I just wanted to get through it just to get through it, because I was not enjoying the story. I was not enjoying Val. I was not enjoying the world anymore. I wasn't enjoying the other supporting characters. And the fact that I could have skipped the book made me mad, because we go from Kay to Val, then we're back to Kay again in the last book. So what was the point of Val's story? I only have 5 books that I read just to get through it. Valiant by Holly Black, Again But Better by Christine Riccio, Crossed by Ali Condi, Bloodlines by Rochelle Mead, Because You Love to Hate Me, which is a collection of short stories. And Valiant I unfortunately had to put on that list, because I was not enjoying Val at all. I was not enjoying the story. I tried to care. I literally tried to care, but I just didn't. And I don't know, Val's life kind of sucks, if you ask me. It does kind of suck. But I am excited to get back into the world of fairies. I'm excited to get back into fantasy. I want to read The Darkest Part of the Forest. I want to read the Cruel Prince trilogy, because, you know, I just want to. So there's that. If you guys have opinions about these books that I mentioned today, please let me know down below. Tell me what you think of them. And, you know, these are just my opinions. And what did you think of Valiant? Did you actually like it and I'm just tripping? And also, I hope you guys like my new title screen. I got this new amazing video software, Filmora Wondershare 9, and I absolutely love it. I tried to do iMovie, but it just wasn't working because my files are too big, apparently. So there's that. See you guys soon. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment what you think of these books. Subscribe as well. Please be safe, please be healthy, please wear a mask. Godspeed, God bless, and I will see you guys soon. Deuces.